Hello everybody, and welcome back to the new Mindscape. In this video, I'm going to take a few minutes to start going through the whole history of religion and how it has led to the evolution of human spirituality. I'm going to start talking about the famous sociologist of religion, Robert Bellah, who wrote a book called Religion in Human Evolution. Robert Bellah conceptualized four modalities of knowing, four ways of knowing that humans have showed in the history of their evolution. He talked about the unitive modality of knowing, the inactive, the symbolic, and the conceptual. The unitive modality of knowing is a kind of mystical sense of oneness with the world. So that's a kind of a mystic unity. So that's the first type of knowing. And the second type is the inactive, is when actually you act out through ritual. And so through acting things out, just for example, like through dancing, it's a kind of a knowing, a kind of embodied knowledge. So that's the inactive. And then the third is the symbolic. And I talked about in one of the previous videos, symbolic knowledge, symbolic knowing. And the fourth is conceptual or theoretical knowledge. So according to Bellah, each of these four modalities of knowing appeared at different stages in human evolution. If we look at the history of humanity, well, we just can't know what happened in the very millions of years ago or hundreds of thousands of years ago, so it would be impossible to know when the unitive modality first appeared. But the inactive, the ritual modality, probably appeared very early in human societies, probably even before symbolic knowledge. Bellah's conclusion is based on the fact that even animals have some kind of inactive rituals. So even before human beings had symbols, it's likely that we were able to communicate and understand the world through the movement of our bodies. So according to Bellah, then, ritual is the first thing that came in the history of religion. Next, symbolic thinking occurred. So we can think of cave paintings. Cave paintings, for example, have been discovered in Lascaux in France and in many other places that were created tens of thousands of years ago. On these paintings, we can see beautiful depictions of wild animals such as buffaloes and horses, and as well as hunters. So we assume that these paintings have symbolic meanings, although it's impossible for us to decipher them. We don't know exactly what these paintings mean, but we can be sure that the symbolic modality of knowing appeared early, very early in the history of humanity. In most of the tribal societies that anthropologists have studied, we can find both inactive, so ritual, and symbolic knowledge together in ritual and mythology. Prior to 800 BC, most human societies probably lived in a form of animistic operating system using unitive, inactive, and symbolic knowledge. They had rituals in which they engaged with other creatures, other beings in an inactive way. They had all kinds of mythologies in which they told the stories of the tiger, of the lion, the sun spirit, the mountain spirit, and so on, using symbolism. But these were symbolism that they didn't theorize about using abstract concepts. So it was at a certain point in history that conceptual or theoretical thinking appeared. Philosophers started to appear and to analyze things with abstract concepts. Religious figures appeared who discussed things in abstract terms. These thinkers introduced conceptual thinking, which brought about a revolution in history and a revolution in religion and in human society at large. Conceptual thinking appeared in what scholars have called the Axial Age, during the period from 800 to 200 BC. During those 5 centuries, in different parts of the world, many innovations occurred, primarily in the Middle East, Greece, India, and China. So it's interesting that, for example, Confucius, Lao Tzu, Buddha, and Socrates, and Plato, all lived around the same time, around 500 BC. So when the German philosopher in the mid-20th century, Karl Jaspers, first called this period the Axial Age, he described a time of reflexivity and transcendence. So during this age, people in different civilizations started to reflect critically and conceptually about transcendence. They criticized the religious values and practices of the societies that they lived in, and they proposed something transcendental for the individual and the collective. For the first time, they advocated a post-conventional morality. In Robert Bella's scheme of the 4 types of understanding, the 4th modality of understanding is the conceptual, which can also be called rational or theoretical. Here, understanding is based on abstract concepts, logically connected with each other, and described with language. In this modality, thought is also depersonalized. The world is considered from beyond the self. Our own self becomes an object of knowledge. Self-reflexivity, self-knowledge, and self-criticism appear. This kind of understanding appeared during what is called the Axial Age, in the period around 800 to 200 BC, in different parts of the world, which saw the birth of most of the world's major religious and philosophical systems, including Taoism, Confucianism, Buddhism, Upanishadic Hinduism, Judaism, and Greek philosophy. Each of these axial systems looks at the self from a self-transcending spiritual perspective, although each does so in a different way.